G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Modified. We have a 105 that's chopped with an engine transplant. Let's find out more. Alex, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Not too bad. Now, this thing looks like an absolute beast. You've got the competition winch, you've got B-lock wheels and all that.
Yeah.
You're sitting quite high.
Yeah, things sort of got a little bit out of hand. Chopped base cab 105 series, so solid axle 100 series Land Cruiser. Cummins 5.9 litre diesel engine. Gearbox from a DAF truck. Brace diffs, brace chassis, full superior suspension. Bit of a tray setup for camping. It is more just set up, being comfortable on those long trips, getting to somewhere a bit more remote, a bit more off the beaten track.
Competition bar, is it?
Just a off-the-shelf Razzler bar. When I got it built by them, I just asked them to angle those side hoops down a little bit more, just to give it a bit of an angry look. I think they call it an Azza bar. Got my road safe recovery points down there, rated recovery points obviously. I've got my high mount, so
that is a big dog of a winch.
Yeah, it's a bit of a beast.
They're fast.
Yeah,
they hold a ton of rope.
Yeah, so that's really the only reason I've got it, is just I think you get 50 meters of rope on one of these, compared to I think your low mounts more like 30.
25 to 30.
25 to 30, yeah. So these things, that's got 50 meters of rope on it. It's just got a few easy upgrades. It's got a free spool delete, upgraded brake, and tapped brake shafts. Got a breather as well. When you're really leaning on them, they get hot and cold, and if you're in water, they tend to suck water in after they get hot and when they go cold. So that's just an easy way to sort of avoid that.
Take us down the side here. You got a brush bar, you got a side step.
Yeah, scrubbies and sliders. The sliders are actually a kit from, I think it's Rag Customs. So they just send you out, everything's bent and cut. And I've just welded those together, made mounts to the chassis, so they're pretty strong. I've bounced the car off those a few times, I think. There you go, yeah, they've got a few nicks and scratches in them. Just a bit of grip tape, because I don't know if you've ever experienced sliders that don't have grip tape. It's quite easy to fall on your face out of the car.
But I've also experienced them with grip tape, and
it takes the back off your leg. Yeah, exactly right. The kicker back here is sort of just, that's like a fairly vulnerable panel. Just having that piece there, so a bit of a kicker there. Also works as a great step to get up to do your rooftop 10 or anything you need to do on the roof.
This episode is sponsored by the Terrain Tamer e-store. So if you are building a cool four-wheel drive like this chopped 105 right here, check them out because they'll probably have what you need. I'm gonna get back to the episode. Alex is gonna take the suspension away for us so we can get through it real quick. There's a lot going on.
Lift is a 4-inch total lift overall. It's got a 1-inch body lift under the cab. Pretty much was just done for the engine conversion to help that fit. The coils are 3-inch all-round coils. It's more or less a superior superflex kit. So it's got the superior remote res shocks, superflex arms, it's got PSR, solid drag link and tie rod. Tough dog steering dampener. In the front I've got hydraulic bump stops, which are just in there because the sump clearance has been a little bit less up travel than what your standard car would have. So put those in there to soak up the shock a little bit more. In the back is all superior engineering stuff as well. So it's got the 3-inch Dobinson's coils, the airbag man, helper springs, and again, just remote reservoir shocks. Being that it's chopped and it was sort of designed to have a full body on it, it's got brace plate all up over the rear section of the chassis. Try and just bring a little bit of rigidity back into that. The front diff's got a superior engineering brace kit on it. Add a bit more strength to it. It's got a Ramped Customs weld-on bash plate. The factory Toyota steering box is renowned for cracking the chassis just behind the steering box and the panhard mount. So that's got a welded brace on there, and the coil towers, because they've got the hydraulic bump stops in them, they've also got a welded brace all the way around the coil tower, just to bring a bit extra strength into those now and putting some more pressure on them.
Look at the size of that turbo. Mate, that turbo is enormous.
Yeah, that one's actually slightly smaller. It had a bigger one on it when I first
did it.
Yeah, that one's a little bit smaller. It had a bigger one, but you'd sit there waiting for it to come on. So we've gone a little bit smaller. It's a 6BT, like 5.9 litre with a P pump, mechanical injection.
Everything is different here.
Yeah,
everything.
Before this, I'd put an LS in it.
Hence the number plate?
Hence the number plate. And then obviously when that came out, the engine bay got completely shredded except for the brakes. The car was auto as well, so all of that stuff's changed, now manual. Pretty much everything's come out and gone back in. So there's a lot of stuff to sort of cram into a pretty tight space.
And you found it quite reliable?
Mate, to be honest, the only thing that's ever let me down was my aircon died in Northern Territory, which was a bit of a stitch up. But
probably the worst spot there.
Yeah, it's probably the worst place, so I got a bit of red dust in the cab, but other than that, a lift pump failed on me. So I've since then gone to a electric, like more reliable lift pump from the US.
Pushing nearly 40 PSI, I think that's an appropriate sticker you got on your airbox.
Yeah, oh, bit of cowboy tuned. Like in all honesty, it runs cool. You can sit this thing on cruise control, 115. You don't even have to look at your gauges. Like it'll do it, you leave it in fifth and off you go. Gets stupidly good economy for what it is and how much power it makes. I had to go to alley radiator only so I could modify my bottom hose outlet, because I still run the factory Dodge accessories. I didn't spend the money and go to the Toyota stuff. So I had to go alley radiator just to modify that bottom hose. Compressor here for lockers, which runs a hose to a tank that's just by your feet behind the front tire under the cab. Locker solenoid and everything's on this, so if anything further down the line is compromised, you don't lose your whole system if something further down the line goes.
Is there a kit for this motor?
There is a kit if you want to use a Toyota gearbox. These things make so much torque that you'd probably want to, like, controversial sure, but you'd probably want to leave it stock if you're going to use a stock box behind it. If you want to make some power, then you're going to want to get a bigger clutch
box
in there, bigger flywheel, bigger box.
Yeah.
So that's where the hard stuff comes in. The mounts and engine mounts, like, they're just off the shelf, and the adapter on the gearbox is one that I've bought, but everything else is kind of either, like, the exhaust is full, made by me. Intercooler piping's obviously all been made, radiator piping. You can buy stuff, but everything needs to be modified ever so slightly, like even down to the exhaust manifold. Like, you had to cut and shut it just to sort of make it work.
A while then, I'll take it.
Yeah, there was a lot of time.
The scoop is just to fit this turbo, yeah?
To get the turbo sort of away from everything so it doesn't absolutely cook the brakes and everything on this side, I've moved it in and up. So there's not heaps of room down there anyway. The scoop is to make a bit of clearance for that. Just a Axis 4-inch snorkel, Stano, that comes down to airbox. Turbo inlet is a 4-inch and the exhaust is full 4-inch the whole way out. It's got a massive muffler in it to try and keep it quiet, but there's only so much you can really do.
I love how he says just a 4-inch intake.
I have tried to get a 5, but no one will make me one. Just behind the grille, we've just got a HPD front mount cooler that's it's actually made for a 100 series, not a 105, but it seems to do the job. Tyres are just a 315/75 R16 Toyo Open Country, mud terrain. I've had 2 sets of these on this car and a set on my old 79. The rims I'm running are just a 16x8 alloy beadlock rim. Upgraded bolts in them because they tend to be a bit of an issue with this sort of thing. Believe it or not, these are actually mod plated, same time as my engine and everything. Being they're DOT approved and load rated for the car, give me a ticket for those as well. So fingers crossed to stay out of trouble with them.
So you're telling me you got beadlocks, ADR approved?
Engineer said, DOT stamped, he's more than happy to get those passed. Don't ask me for his details.
Frame setup, quarter box. I know you remove this quite often, like a lift-off camper.
Yeah, so I like to drive the car, I like to use it as a ute, and around town and stuff's a lot easier. Just take the whole back off. Everything you see there, just 4 legs, whole thing comes off as one, back to a bare nice tray, lose some weight.
What does it weigh?
Probably about 300 kilos. Everything, fridge, tent, spare tyre, you name it.
I'll let you take it away.
Yep, just in here. On this side, I've just got my little prized possession, my slow cooker. Down the back there, we've got the Travel Buddy, Makita battery charger, and just a couple 12-volt outlets. Just in this one up here, I've got spare parts, spare filters, belts, some oils and stuff like that, bearings. Down here is just tools. Moving back, got the 40-litre angle on the MSA drop slide. That thing's never let me down. That's been on the back of the ute for a few years now. Just in the box back here, that's my pantry. So it's got a small cooker in there and just a few basic things for the moment, but on trips that gets filled right to the brim. Just got 1 spare tyre here with the bin bag on it. So normally just put a little bag in there for all the rubbish. Spare fuel, 20 litres of water, shovel up top, gas bottle for when we've got the Weber on the back, and just some spare space, put your chair and all that fun stuff back there. Just in this side here, world's slowest gas strut, that takes a minute to open up. That's just clothes on trips. It's my wardrobe. Up here's all the 12-volt, a few USB plugs. The plugs on this side, that's just the volt gauge. That turns the inverter on, got outlets both sides. There's switches for lights both sides, And then just on this side, there's just some simple stuff for cooking, paper towel, fire extinguisher. Gas strut still hasn't gone up.
Oh, now it's up.
No, it'll keep going, but it literally will take 5 minutes to get there.
Alex is going to show us his living quarters. He has been in this tent for a whole 6 hours.
6 is probably generous. We'll give it a look.
So can you give us a 6-hour review, mate?
Yeah, 6-hour review. Ladder's a bit rickety.
Did you have a good sleep?
Fantastic. Till some blokes woke me up this morning.
Yeah, sorry about that. What type of tent is it?
Alibaba special, to be completely honest with you.
Well, it's lasted 6 hours. We don't know about 12 hours.
Yeah. Job done. 1300 wide, it's 2-1 long, just a hard shell rooftop tent. Just gone to this from like the old school fold out style, just something a bit quicker to set up at the end of the night after a long day's driving. See how long it lasts. Yep, might need to consult my mate on that little one there. Yeah, so before this I was in a Dasher fold out style rooftop tent that was really good, just took a fair bit of time to set up at the end of a hard day's driving. So obviously this system needs a little bit of refinement just to get the awning to come around with the tent poles, which is nothing too hard, and get it all working really well. But honestly, for what I paid for, you got to expect to have to do a little bit of work and make everything work well together. But yeah, definitely can't complain.
This is Ron the Darling.
Is there a Lima Sierra
Irene out there.
Yeah, mate, I got you.
Roger that.
I'm noticing a lack of lights on your vehicle. Can you explain that? Are there some coming, or are you just not a night driver?
Are you scared of the dark?
Yeah, no, mate, I'm scared of the dark. I'll be sitting by the fire by the time the sun goes down, I think.
I see you're one of the smart people.
Yeah, something along those lines, I think.
What are you talking to?
To me on right now.
I just got a Uniden
In cab with all the controls on the handpiece, and I've got a GME 2.1 dB aerial.
Copy that. Well, this is Ron the Darling out.
You can talk to the cameraman about your interior and your navigation. Over.
Got a Kenwood head unit with just simple CarPlay on it. Normally on a big trip I'll put a tablet up there and use that for maps, and that down there I just sort of use for messaging calls and a bit of Spotify. Down there we've just got a projector DC-DC powering a 117 hour AGM battery. Simple fuse block, a few isolators, sends all the power out to the canopy so that I can keep my second battery on board when the canopy's not on for just running fridge on the flat tray and stuff. There's a sub behind that seat, got to have the good tunes. Down here, that's just a gauge for air tank under the car. Down here that's in-cab tuner for the engine. So that's how much power and how fast I want it to make the power. Other than that, I've just got in-cab winch switches down here. Seats are VFSS, so they're from a Ute as well. So they've got the quick release to flip them over and slide them forwards really fast. The steering wheel is from a newer Toyota Camry. Make everything feel a little bit more modern in here. And then on this side, I've got compressor and locker switches for the rear, boost, EGT, and water temp gauges.
Here we are yet again for another rapid fire Q&A. Why the 105?
Coils, solid axle, Toyota.
If you could change anything, money's not an issue, you could change anything on the vehicle right now.
4 doors and probably a stronger axle.
Oh, so you go 4 doors instead of a single.
Yeah, I reckon if I did it again, dual cab.
Interesting. Why is that?
Just more space inside, like keep your stuff out of the elements. Even if you don't have seats in the back, it's just more dry space, like it's essentially a canopy.
Beach or bush?
Beach. I like sand.
He likes sand. What's your favourite colour sand?
Fraser Island sand.
What colour is that?
I'd have to say off yellow. I like sand.
The journey or the destination?
100% the destination.
I did not expect that. Looking at that looks like a journeyman's car to me.
100%, but I don't know, I just prefer to chill out somewhere nice and warm, get out of Victoria.
Hence the not driving at night and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your ideal camp then?
Somewhere on a nice warm beach up north.
Do you know who sponsors the show Modified?
Terrain Tamer. Look them up.
The Terrain Tamer e-store. Yeah, check them out. If you need some parts for your full drive, you're building something as cool as this, check it out. Top 3 mods, and please don't say a lift and tyres and lockers. Well, you can if you want.
Tent, chop, power.
Tent, chop, power. I like it. Diesel or petrol?
Diesel for touring, 100%.
And automatic or manual?
If I did it again, I'd put an auto in it for diesel for sure.
So this vehicle's gone from petrol to diesel.
It's gone petrol auto, petrol manual, diesel manual, maybe one day diesel auto.
Next week, diesel auto. Yeah. What's a modification you regret doing and you're probably going to change?
I've just got a rear locker in at the moment. I'll probably change the brand of that locker and get front and rears, something that actually works. Go from air to e-lockers, hopefully.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for bringing the LSI 105, which is actually a Cummins. Are you going to change the number plate? Final question, and thank you very much.
Already looked, there's nothing good on the market, so it's staying for now.
A few abbreviations we were talking about and not good.
Yeah, not the best.